Hey everyone, welcome back to Steelers Talk. Today we're diving into a story that's been buzzing online, that Aaron Rodgers was just the third choice for the Steelers this offseason. That narrative popped up after a recent report, and it's been causing quite a stir, so I'm here to set the record straight. Stick with me as I break it all down because there's a lot more context here than a simple Plan A, Plan B, Plan C headline lets on. So here's how this whole storyline started. According to the report, Pittsburgh's first call was to Matthew Stafford, then they reached out to Justin Fields, and only after that did they circle back to Aaron Rodgers. Folks started picking that up and running with it, portraying it like the Steelers settled for Rodgers, like he was the consolation prize, the one they grabbed when their true target slipped through their fingers. But that's a gross oversimplification, and honestly, it's not accurate. To start, the Stafford angle was more hypothetical than real. He wasn't truly on the table. The Rams never seriously entertained the idea of letting him walk. So yeah, sure, a feel-good narrative to say Steelers really wanted Stafford. But the moment they made one call and realized Stafford wasn't going anywhere, that option vanished. It was never Plan A in any practical sense. Now on to Justin Fields. The story goes that he was considered before Rodgers, but that's also misleading. Here's the deal. Pittsburgh did like Fields. They liked his upside, especially coming off his rookie contract. They saw unrealized potential and thought maybe, just maybe, he could grow into a long-term answer at quarterback. They even made Fields an offer first because they were allowed to talk to him before free agency officially began. That's why Fields got that contract offer ahead of Rodgers. But liking someone and committing to them? Those are two different things, especially when the situation on the table isn't clear-cut. And what exactly was that deal? 2 years, $30 million total. That's $15 million per year. Keep in mind, that's rich for a backup. Pretty standard for a mid-tier starter. It's roughly what Daniel Jones got from the Jets. Steelers were willing to pay, but no more than that, and they certainly weren't offering him the full-time starting job. Fields would still have to go through training camp, compete, earn, at a spot. And apparently that wasn't exactly thrilling to him. He wanted assurances, maybe even a starting spot right away, and Pittsburgh wasn't giving it. Then add in the fact that the Jets eventually swooped in and gave him more money and that starting job he wanted. So Fields took it. That's his prerogative, and all power to him. But it also makes it clear the Steelers were not going all in on making him the guy in Pittsburgh. By the time free agency rolled around, the Steelers were locked on Rodgers. That's not desperation. That's strategy. Leaders in the organization decided Rodgers, with his experience and pedigree, gave them a much better chance of winning now. And the deal they landed, it wasn't just smart, it was great value, far cheaper than what Fields' deal was going to cost. And Rodgers comes equipped with the skill set, the playoff resume, and the leadership you need for a contender. It's not a consolation prize. It's a calculated, intentional decision by a team hungry to win. Let's get real about what Rodgers represents. He's coming in as a starter. No tryouts, no competition. Rodgers is a steel curtain signal caller. A player the coaches and brass trust to carry the offense. Compare that to Fields, who would have entered with a question mark, needing to fight for the job, perhaps taking reps behind Rodgers if both had been signed. That's not what Pittsburgh wanted. They wanted clarity. They wanted a ring-tested veteran. It wasn't a fallback, it was the primary objective. For a team in win-now mode, that makes perfect sense. From Pittsburgh's perspective, Fields was a high upside option, but not a done deal. He had to prove it, and at a cost better spent elsewhere given Rodgers' availability and worth. Rodgers checks so many boxes. Leadership, playoff experience, quick release, arm strength, all proven under center, not theoretical. That's why they pulled the trigger. Now, did Pittsburgh actually like Fields? Absolutely. Did they think he had potential? Of course. But they weren't ready to bet the house. They were smart enough to recognize that a budding QB learning on the job isn't the same as a four-time MVP. Fields got a better offer, a starting role, and he took it. The situation made sense for him. But that doesn't mean Pittsburgh was rejected. It means the market dictated the outcome, and Rodgers' value aligned best with their timeline and goals. Bottom line, Aaron Rodgers wasn't some Plan Z, the leftover option when better choices were gone. He was the guy. The moment it became clear Stafford was staying put and Fields wanted assurances Pittsburgh wasn't giving, Rodgers became the preferred target. and they struck while the iron was hot. In just a bit, we're going to dig into day 3 of mandatory minicamp. I've got highlights from offense, defense, rookies, even Mike Tomlin's thoughts on practice heat. But I wanted to nail this quarterback narrative first and set the record straight. This was intentional, this was strategic, and this was a Steelers team moving with purpose, not settling. All right, if you're hearing this and thinking Rodgers was plan C, let me know in the comments. Type AR if you think Rodgers was the best QB there, or JF if you're riding with Fields. Let's get that pinned at the top so we can keep the chat buzzing while we move on to the next segment. Now shifting gears to the field, let's talk about what went down on the final day of Steelers' mandatory minicamp. This was the last official practice we'll see before the team heads to Latrobe in late July. And there's a lot to unpack from what we saw, especially when it comes to how this team is shaping up on both sides of the ball. One of the biggest takeaways came straight from wide receiver DK Metcalf, who spent some time talking about the defense. And what stood out most to him wasn't just the physicality or the talent level, it was the sheer volume. He joked that during the very first play, he couldn't even hear Mason Rudolph's cadence because the defense was talking so much. That's actually a great sign for Steelers fans. Last year, the communication breakdowns in the secondary were a real problem. Guys were out of sync, getting lost in motion, and not adjusting pre-snap the way they should have in man-match schemes. But now, under new defensive backs coach Gerald Alexander, there's a clear emphasis on being vocal, staying aligned, and communicating constantly. That could be a game changer, especially if the defense wants to clean up those late season lapses from last year. Another bright spot? Juan Thornhill. The veteran safety wasn't around for voluntary OTAs, but he showed up for minicamp and wasted no time making an impact. He was flying around the field, full speed, full intensity, and looking healthy after dealing with some injuries the past couple seasons. He brings range, instincts, and ball hawking ability to the secondary, and you can already see the fit. Mike Tomlin has a history of using 3 safety looks, and Thornhill could easily be that wildcard piece that moves all over the formation. Pairing him with Minkah Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott gives the Steelers flexibility and depth, especially in passing situations where disguise and speed are crucial. On the offensive side of things, let's talk about Broderick Jones. Drafted in the first round a couple years back, he spent most of his time in Pittsburgh on the right side. But now the team is moving him back to left tackle, the spot he played in college, and he's dropped about 15 pounds to help with that transition. Jones admitted it's been a bit of an adjustment after spending so long on the right side. His footwork and angles need tweaking, but he also said the left feels more natural to him. Offensive line coach Pat Meyer mentioned that what they're really looking for from Jones is consistency. He's got all the tools, the size, the strength, the athleticism. Now it's about reducing penalties, refining technique, and becoming a steady presence on the blind side. Speaking of new faces, rookie running back Caleb Johnson is already turning heads. The 3rd-round pick out of Iowa has the physicality and vision to thrive in early down situations. But pass protection is where he needs work. Iowa didn't throw the ball much, and Johnson didn't get a ton of reps in that department. He knows it's an area he needs to improve, and he's grinding hard to fix it. That said, for now, expect him to play more on early downs while Jaylen Warren handles passing situations. Warren, by the way, might be the best pass protecting back in football. Right now, he's elite in that role. If Johnson can follow that example and round out his game, Pittsburgh could have a powerful 1-2 punch in the backfield. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling in the Steel City, and they're louder than the terrible towels on a Sunday afternoon. Whispers coming from league insiders suggest that Tyreek Hill, the electric wide receiver currently with the Miami Dolphins, might be the subject of a historic move that would send shockwaves through the NFL. A potential blockbuster deal bringing Hill to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, you read that right. The same Tyreek Hill, known for his jaw-dropping speed, ankle-breaking routes, and game-changing explosiveness, is being linked, albeit unofficially, to a move that would mark the biggest signing in Steelers history. While nothing has been confirmed, and no formal negotiations have been acknowledged by either franchise, the chatter has picked up serious momentum in recent days. Sources close to the situation hint that Pittsburgh's front office has been quietly exploring bold options to supercharge its offense and make a definitive statement in the ever-competitive AFC North. The idea of pairing Hill with rising quarterback talent and a young offensive core has reportedly intrigued key decision-makers within the organization. Some even suggest that backroom discussions have taken place to assess what such a monumental acquisition would cost and what it might mean for the franchise's identity moving forward. Of course, this all remains firmly in the realm of speculation. Hill, under contract with Miami and still one of the most dynamic weapons in the league, has given no public indication of dissatisfaction. Yet the NFL offseason is fertile ground for surprises, and stranger things have happened when egos, ambition, and big money collide. If this deal were to materialize, it would not only be a seismic shift for Pittsburgh, it would reshape the balance of power in the AFC. Bringing in a player of Hill's caliber could catapult the Steelers into immediate contender status, giving fans a reason to believe that a new era of offensive firepower is on the horizon. For now, it's just a buzz, a rumor, a tantalizing possibility. But in the NFL, where smoke often leads to fire, the idea of Tyreek Hill donning black and gold is enough to keep the Steel City holding its breath. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.